In less speculative news, this weekend, the Sixers have hired their first assistant on the Nick Nurse staff and bringing in former Sacramento Kings point guard Bobby Jackson, also assistant coach with the Sacramento Kings. He's been on the staff since 2011 and just recently coached their G League teams since 2021. So what do you guys make of the first hire to the Nick Nurse staff? Eric, do you know Bobby Jackson personally?
I don't know Bobby personally. I mean, I know him from playing against him. Good dude from what I hear. He's been in Sacramento, has done a good job and really thought of out there. So I don't know the connection to him and Nurse. I have no idea. Happy to see a guy get an opportunity. Didn't come from Sacramento, but hopefully he can be helpful. I know he played the game well, and he was a really big part of their team. So I know he can help the guys, just from a former player's perspective, and being able to get in their ear, encourage them, and knowing situations through experience. So it's definitely a guy. Not saying that he's going to be like Sam, but in that mold, to be able to give insight and be able to truly relate to what guys are experiencing and going through.
Yeah.
But as far as their connection and how it's going to work in his role, I don't know. I have no idea.
Right, maybe he can talk. Maybe Harrison Barnes and taking the TM mid-level. Yeah.
A guy like Harrison's interesting to see what he's offered.
Yeah, in the case where let's say you did the Beal, and let's say you lost Harris, and you wanted to replace Harris.
Harrison Barnes, I would take that in a heartbeat.
That's pretty good.
If Harrison is the guy, I would take that.
That's a pretty good substitution. Beal and Harrison Barnes coming in for Harden and Tobias.
I would take that. Harrison can play 3 and 4.
But Bobby Jackson, same staff for 12 years. That's impressive. I don't know much about Jackson. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on Bobby Jackson, but I trust fans' reactions when a player or coach leaves, because that's when you usually get the most honest take about a guy who leaves their team. Because then all the truth comes out, like, oh, I'm so glad he's gone finally, or all that kind of stuff, right? So from what I've seen in all the threads on Twitter, Kings fans are either really happy for him or really pissed off and sad to see him go. So, of course, there are a couple like psychopaths, but it's social media. But for the most part, that's pretty much it. Is that because he's a great coach, or is that because he's pretty much a legacy?
He's a Sacramento guy. That's what I said. He's really thought of out there.
Yeah,
and they went a different way. So, why didn't he get an opportunity with Mike? I don't know. Maybe Mike came in, but Doug Christie's there with Mike. So
yeah.
So I think it was just Mike's going to have his own guys, and it's an opportunity for him. Trust me, I know coaching is not an easy profession to get into. How well you can coach and how much you know doesn't seem to always matter.
But yeah, well, I guess we'll see. It's good for to have a foreign player on the staff, that's for sure. It doesn't replace Cassell, because I don't know what each one of them, will offer in terms of relation with each other. But it's another former player who's got a lot of experience, so it's great.
Yeah. No, and I think the version of that would have been Cassell with us, because I don't think I saw anybody who was happy that he was.
Yeah, but we just don't know if Bobby's going to have that role. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
But Eric, you know more than we would. But when you're the first assistant hired, does that mean you kind of have more of a priority? Or are you like the first assistant off the bench? Like, let's say if Nurse was, does that not mean that?
Didn't they just say that Sam was hired by Boston and another guy came behind him that's going to be associate head coach?
Oh, I didn't know that. Dang.
Right, Teja?
They just hired the Bucks assistant, right?
Yeah, as the associate head coach.
Was it Charlie?
I would be higher than Sam.
Charlie Smith, is his name?
I don't know his name, but he was the guy that was up for a couple of head coaching jobs.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So no, the timing of when you hire somebody has nothing to do with it. That's just people in the media running with it, and then want to be first to announce it and all that stuff. You know how that goes. But that's what I'm saying. We don't know his role. We don't know if he's going to be one of the bench coaches or not.
Yeah. Because the whole thing last week was that Cassell's hire puts Mazzulla in the hot seat. If he doesn't look good, they're going to just promote Cassell to the head coach's position. So yeah, that's interesting. They hired also somebody else. Who would be
When you're a coach on a kind of like shaky end of year, does it worry you to have such like high level assistants?
I mean, I've seen it both ways. I mean, I've played for some coaches that, don't even think about whether a assistant would take their place. And I've played and I've seen where some assistants are a little worried and who the guys are talking to and why are they talking, you know what I'm saying? But to me, that's more about who that person is more so than the coaching. But
sure.
Yeah, I've seen that both ways.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine.
That's why coaches want to hire their own guys.
Yes. Yeah.
And GMs don't want them to hire their own guys.
Yeah.
They want to GMs want to put their spies in there, and the coaches don't want their spies in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm joking, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, there have been stories like that in sports.
Oh yeah,
right, absolutely.
It's, people, claiming who they're loyal to.
Even bringing their players on to be a spy for players for them.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely heard those stories in the NFL. It's very common in the NFL. But it also is good to have. We know Morey and Nurse already have a good relationship, so it's not one of those situations where someone forced Morey to hire him or something. They're cool, so that's good.
Yeah, it's always exciting to have ex-NBA players on the staff, just because you guys have been there before. You know what it's like to be out there on the court. Sometimes not knocking the guys who didn't play the game at the highest level, but sometimes.
I think it's a place for everyone. I mean, I think it's a place for people that didn't know the game that came up through their path is different. But the one thing that a lot of those people that came up that way will never have, that they'll never have the experience of actually playing
on the court. Yeah.
And there is something about that. There is something that you can always give for knowing that experience and how it feels. Not that everybody can articulate that in coaching or speak to other people and be able to have a personality to deliver that information and a timely information. Then that comes down to the person that's giving that information.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak it? Can you speak it well? Can you relate to a person? Can you get them to understand and listen? Can you do it in a timely manner where it's efficient for them to understand it and then understand it to where they feel like when they go out on the court, they've done it before or heard it before?
Yep.
Now that's where it's different. Not everybody can do that. They can just tell you, but it's an art of kind of relating that information to where the guy can receive it. Because it's not about you giving it, it's about them receiving it.
Yeah.
Well said.
And also, I think I read a report that the Sixers are interviewing Rico Hines to be a potential assistant.
Rico, I hope Rico come, man.
Would that be a good addition?
Yes, Rico's awesome. See, I know Rico personally really well. A lot of guys, you hear about the guys working out at UCLA and all that, where Rico runs all that.
Yep.
And I can see that because remember I told you guys that Toronto used to go out and work out with Rico, their team.
Yeah.
So I can see that. Now that right there, I kind of see the connection. But Rico will be great. He'll be very helpful, especially for the younger guys.
That's cool.
And we have the inside scoop with you with Rico. That'd be cool.